Hello, welcome to today's Top Leaders. Today we are talking about kindness. My friends, listen, I know that you are dealing with people on your team who are not happy at work, right? And in the past, I have definitely talked about some of those things that make you a terrible leader, and then therefore your people are not performing well. All right. And I'm not saying that you are this horrible human being, right? That's not what I'm getting at. Okay. But is it possible that maybe your people aren't happy because of you and how you're treating them and what's going on? Listen, the number one reason why somebody leaves a company is because they don't have a good relationship with their boss. That's the number one reason. So if you think the number one reason why people are leaving is because they're not getting paid enough and HR is holding you back, that's not the reason why. Okay. It's not until the number three reason why people leave is because of money. The number one reason is because they don't feel connected to you. So today I want to talk about kindness and how kindness can totally make a difference in this whole spectrum about you being a tech leader that everyone wants to work for. Let me tell you about one of my clients. He is a great example of somebody who really strives to be kind. In particular, there's this little situation going on with somebody on his team. That particular team member has some family members who are dealing with medical issues. So we're talking cancer. And the particular person is actually a child of this gentleman who works for him. So very close, very sensitive. This is very, very hard. Major medical issues going on in the household. Okay. So this employee has that kind of stress going on. Meanwhile, while all of that is happening with the child, the employee also finds out that he also has cancer. Okay, so double whammy, same household, two people. You've got a dad and a son that are dealing with this. Now, there are also other family members around as well, but still like double whammy, right? Just for one person to be going through cancer. Wow, big deal, right? This is like, it's heartbreaking. It almost seems unfathomable. Now, meanwhile, back at the ranch, at the office, this employee who is normally a star employee, really, really wicked smart, able to make an amazing contribution technically, had been identified previous to all of his cancer diagnosis as somebody who could be the lead on a very important, very special project. And so here I am, I'm talking to the leader of this employee who's dealing with all of his cancer. And he's like, I am just so sad. I'm just not even sure what to do. And I asked him, I said, well, what does your heart really say? And he says, you know what? I just want to listen to him. I just want to be kind and be there and be his friend, because I can't even imagine. Because this gentleman, again, my client, he himself has children as well. And just the thought of one of your kids going through a major medical issue and then yourself, et cetera, he's just like, oh my gosh, like this is so tough. And that's what he did, is he decided to just be there, and he focused on being the kindest person that he could be. And it made all the difference in the world. As a manager, he didn't take cancer away. As a manager, he didn't eliminate cancer or didn't have the medical ability to make cancer go away for his employee's child or for the employee themselves. Okay, but there were other things that he could do within the context of what's allowed for shifting work around and for supporting, etc. But mostly he chose to come from that heart-centered place of really listening and being empathetic and focusing on kindness as much as he possibly can. I want to talk to you a little bit more about how kindness is showing up and how it's making a difference in the workplace. And for the leaders who are being kind, those are the ones that are winning the game, you guys. Listen, with the things that I share with you today, if something really resonates and you're thinking, man, I need to get some coaching to help me so that I can become that better tech leader, make sure you get in touch with me. Send me a message. Let's talk. Let's discuss how the coaching and the training that we provide can make a difference to help you so that you can become that tech leader that everyone wants to work for also. So in an article from Forbes, they cited 5 different qualities that employees are looking for in a leader. These are qualities such as the willingness to give credit where that credit is due, the ability to adapt to their team, having an infectious passion, right? Is that love for what is going on. It's bringing that passion. And unimpeachable integrity. So it doesn't mean that they're infallible and they don't mess up, but having that integrity so deeply that people know that they can trust them. And another thing on the list was the ability to listen, genuinely listen. And in the article, they cited that this ability to listen from managers, okay, employees want that. 88% of employees really, really want you as a manager to genuinely listen to them. But what's interesting about that is that they found that 60% of the people that were surveyed, that those employees felt that their current leader or boss exhibited that trait. Okay, so 88% wanted that, but only 60% felt like their boss actually genuinely listened or had the ability to genuinely listen. So big, huge gap there, almost a 30% gap of what they're wanting and what they're actually getting in that whole listening aspect. And so I was digging around a little bit and I was trying to find some information around kindness and how kindness is making a difference for people. And one of the things that continues to come back around kindness and being a good leader is this ability to listen. It's really fascinating how the two are really closely together. There's a Native American tribes organization, or might also be referred to as Indigenous Peoples Tribes organization based in the Northwest of the United States. So it's in the greater Spokane, Washington area. They have a desire to end racism. And so they're wanting to get rid of this. There's like, this is not serving anybody. And so in an article that they have on their website, and their website is stopandlisten.com, they reference a pastor, a Baptist pastor, whose name is Rick Warren. And Rick Warren said, the better listener you become, the more sympathetic you will be. That totally deserves being repeated again. The better listener you become, the more sympathetic you will be. So they're quoting him on that, and they expanded some thoughts around this whole idea that you will actually become a better leader as you increase your listening skills. And they said, this sentiment perfectly embodies how listening translates to kindness. When we make an intentional effort to listen to our loved ones, the community, and the world, we are spread to compassion and generosity. When we begin speaking and are no longer listening, although we may have best intentions, this action cancels out our kindness. Okay. So just think about that. You might be thinking, oh, I want to give them some supportive words, right? I want to be helpful to them and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Give you some advice, some helpful things, right? Because you know what? Often that's what you do as a tech leader. You have an answer. People come to you with a question, a problem. You've got an answer. You're going to jump in and you're going to communicate that, right? That's what you do really well. I mean, think of all the people that are in the company, right? Think of people from operations and marketing and sales and customers and everything else. They come to you looking for an answer. And in order to get that answer, you need to open your mouth and you need to articulate something, right? Or maybe you're sending an email or whatever it is, but typically there's some kind of form of communication. So what's really fascinating is this thought around actually closing your mouth, pausing before you speak, is actually one of the most kind things that you can possibly do, even when that goes against your nature to speak up and say something, okay? So I want you to think about this. As a tech leader, when you have people who are not happy, who are not getting work done, maybe you could reflect back, even right now, think about one of those people that are unhappy on your team. One of those people that are kind of what I call cranky pants McGee, right? It's just like, oh, they're just like difficult. Something going on in their personal life. And if you don't know, maybe it might be time to ask about it, right? Even though you might think, oh, I want to keep an arm's length away from that. I don't even want to get into those things. That's their drama. I do not want to get into it. But you know what, you guys? This is part of those qualities that people are looking for from their leaders, is they want to be able to trust you and connect with you, okay? It doesn't mean all of a sudden you have to become Dr. Phil, all right, and listen to everybody's woes, okay? But even just a little bit of listening, how far that can possibly go. The definition of sympathy is this: feeling or showing care or understanding. So it's just feeling it, right? Or showing that you care and understand. Okay, so how do you show that you care or understand? How do you actually literally do that? I'm going to share with you an example from Joe Blaley. He wrote this book called The View from a Hearse, and this is a book about grief. And this is something he says. This is quoted directly from the book. It says, quote, "I was sitting torn by grief, and somebody came along and talked to me about God's dealings, of why it happened, of hope beyond the grave. He talked constantly. He said things I knew were true, but I was unmoved, except to wish that he would go away. And he finally did. But another one came and sat beside me, and he didn't talk at all. He didn't ask me any leading questions. He just sat beside me for an hour or more, listened when I said something, answered briefly, prayed simply, and left. I was moved. I was comforted. I hated to see him go." So, isn't that just a beautiful little story? Can't you just imagine, right? This person's so sad and they're wanting help, okay? And you can see this very, very desirous person where they want to be helpful, right? And maybe that's you. Maybe you might even look back and think of those times when you had an employee come to you and they let you know that they're going through something tough. Maybe they're about ready to get divorced from their spouse, or they have a death in the family, or some really big, major personal thing. Maybe you offered a bunch of advice, and well, that person, just as Joe Blaley says here in the book, that person knows that those things are true. That's not really what they're looking for from you. Instead, what they're looking for is that listening ear. So if we think back to this whole idea of how you can be a more kind tech leader so that you can win the day. Okay, this isn't about winning and your products get out the door a little bit faster and the company makes a little bit more money. It's not just about those things. Yes, that's great, right? We want to see those efficiencies. Of course, that's good stuff, right? But there's a lot of little moments that happen along the way, long before that new feature is released, or that new product to customers, or that new customer is onboarded and you have to customize things from right. There's before all that stuff happens, and also, let's say, during those things happening, you got people right on your team who are struggling with things. You might be struggling with something in your own life. It is very, very, very probable. I've done a lot of coaching with a lot of tech leaders, and I have seen this time and time again, where even they, as a leader, they are dealing with their own drama in their life and in their kids' lives, their spouse's life, in their little community, their tight little network. There's stuff that's going on, okay? So it's not just for your employees, it's also for you, okay? Who is that person that will listen to you? And it doesn't necessarily have to be your boss, right? But is there somebody else on the team? But I think that as you display this and as you role model this for your people, how important it is to maybe shut your mouth for a little bit, right? Allow for that space, allow for that opportunity for a little spaciousness. I love that word, right? A bit of spaciousness in the conversation. Then maybe, just maybe, they can open up and share with you, and you can show them and role model for them what kindness actually looks like. And it's not necessarily, rambling and motor mouth, you know what I mean? Okay, so just keep that in mind, especially when we know from studies that show that listening is one of the 5 most important qualities that people are looking for from you. So I'm going to leave you with this question. This week, how can you better listen to your people? Thank you, my friends, for joining me here on today's Top Leaders. I look forward to hearing from you. Let's talk about what you can do so that you can become that tech leader that everyone wants to work for. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.